Sometimes it's a privilege to be able to just sit down, drink a cup of coffee without having to be in a hurry. For those of you that do have a business, you can relate to what I'm talking about. You see, sometimes it feels so good to be able to, sit here, drink a coffee without having to think about, what the customer is talking about. When are you going to ship out this item? Somebody wrote you an email, the item is still not delivered. Items are not selling, all these worries that you pretty much have if you own a business. And if you do not have a business, there must be something going on in your life. You might be in school, you have assignments, you have projects going on, deadlines. If you work a 9-to-5 job and you are in the line of duty, you are, in the helms of affairs, high up there in your office, you are responsible for so many things. Emails flying left, right, and center. The job that needs to be done is constantly staring at you, and there's just no way. And sometimes you go on break, and the time just appears so short for you to be able to do anything meaningful. Before you drink a coffee, it's already break over. You have to go back. So that I can sit down here, and it's like a privilege. Today is Friday. I'm not doing anything today. I'm not going to be shipping out any item today because I do not have any item that urgently needs to be shipped out. And I said to myself, yes, I have done this so many times before, which is a buyer buys something. And because I always want to delight my buyers, I go ahead and ship it out, just to make it possible for the person to receive it on the next day, And so many times I have been burnt by doing that. Generally, I tend to give 1 to 2 days processing time for me to be able to, process my items before shipping them out to whoever has bought them. But sometimes I feel like, why not go ahead and ship out the item? The buyer has paid, everything seems to be ready. Why not just put the item in the box and take it to the post office, But this is one of those days where I feel like, I'm actually going to be shipping out this PC that sold yesterday on the day that eBay has asked me to ship it, which is on Monday. Because of that, I have time to actually just relax, of course, talk to you guys, do those things that I never ever have time to do. And one of the things is just for me to, sit down here and, talk to you guys, share my thoughts on different things, update you guys on what's actually going on and, stuff like that. Just have to sit down without having to be in a hurry, having to think of packing something, having to be concerned about something that customer is trying to return back to me, and so on and so forth. So it's a beautiful feeling, and I'm so happy for it. And gradually, I'm already preparing, for my holiday. Things are definitely going to be slowing down. I have not had an holiday, like a real holiday, for quite a while now. Yes, sometimes you do this kind of, weekend getaway. Wife comes around and says, look, can we visit this place? And I'm like, okay, since it's just about 40 minutes drive, about 1 hour drive, it's not so bad, let's go. But this is going to be like a major holiday for me. It's going to be 2 weeks long, and I am gradually preparing for it. Schools in Germany are actually going on holiday on Friday next week, and if you live in Germany, you can understand that, look, a lot of families tend to also plan their holiday around this time. If you have, school kids, August is one time that it's pretty much known that parents, tend to have holidays in this time. Let me know when you have holiday in the country where you live. I live in Germany, and starting Friday next week, a lot of schools in Germany are going to be closed. And because of that, I am also trying to prepare myself gradually, to take this holiday and just, if it's possible for me to actually give this holiday a theme, I'm going to be calling it the holiday of rest. Guys, I have been working so hard in the last times that, look, I feel so tired sometimes. When I wake up in the morning, it's kind of difficult to really, spring back to action, because long time ago, man, I was grinding a lot, and waking up at 4, waking up at 3 o'clock was absolutely nothing for me. But quite recently, kind of feels like it's kind of a struggle to just get up. I wake up, even though the motivation is there to go out, for the body just kind of tells me sometimes, can you please sleep a little bit longer? Can you just please, switch off the alarm a little bit and just, doze off? And sometimes I do doze off and wake up about 40 minutes later, sometimes 20 minutes later, and then start my day. But I feel like my body is actually giving me some signs that, look, it's time to go on a holiday, take a break. This work, there's just no end to this work. Customers or buyers will continue to come onto eBay, to look for items to buy. New items, new PCs, new inventories are constantly going to be pushed to the secondary market. And we are constantly going to be looking out for these items, getting them, cleaning them up and posting them on eBay. This is a cycle that has been on for years, and I don't see it coming to an end just now. There's going to be always that one new thing in the world. Now is the time of AI. If you think AI is going to be the last thing that's going to happen, you better think again, because AI is going to come, and definitely before you know what's going on, there's going to be something else that's going to set the world in motion, and this continuous motion just keeps going on and on and on. People are going to be always looking for stuff. People's laptops are going to be broken. People's monitors are going to be broken. People's computers, definitely, no matter how expensive it is, it's going to be broken. People are going to be losing their jobs. People are going to be thinking that, okay, now I don't want to buy new stuff anymore, because if you take a look at the secondary market, the stuffs there are so good as new. Why not consider buying a used monitor, for example, or a used keyboard, or a used desktop PC? This is going to be happening, and every day people are going to be in charge of these transactions. I am going to be, part of this sea of people that are actually doing this thing, which is, looking for used products, looking for used computers, cleaning them up, making sure they are like in a condition that someone somewhere in the world will be able to buy them and still get very good value, using them. Yes, this work is not actually going to come to an end, not anytime soon. And because of that, when you start out, you might have this erroneous belief that if you do not strike, don't make haste now, you're going to be losing out on a lot of transactions. This belief I had a long time ago. Sorry, I just have to keep sipping my coffee until, I get my message across. All right. So this was the erroneous belief I had a long time ago. I used to think that, oh, if I do not go for this transaction, if I do not go to buy this, somebody is going to come and buy it off. I won't be able to get these inventories to list on eBay. And I was on this constant stress mode, always thinking that, there's going to be a time where, things are not selling. Now that things are selling, why not take advantage of it? Keep working, just keep grinding, just keep working, keep pumping out. Man, I think now I am at a time where I want to take a major, holiday. We're going to be going to a location in Europe, spending a very good quality time there. We pretty much booked a holiday house where we can actually, spend time, with the family. We are just close to the sea, about 200 meters. So I don't want to be driving this time. All I want to do is to wake up in the morning, take a look at what's going on the internet, drink some coffee, have a beautiful time with the kids, and go to the sea. Sit down, enjoy, relax, swim, ride my boat, come back home, eat some nice good food, and come back again to sleep. This is the schedule I have planned for myself, and I want to term it once again the holiday of rest. I'm going to be resting in this time, because this feeling of being so tired, mentally, physically, it's not far-fetched. You see, a lot has been going on eBay, a lot of transactions, sending out PCs every given day for the past 3 weeks, sometimes 3 PCs, sometimes 4 PCs, sometimes 2 PCs, sometimes 1, with the exception of today. This week, I was sending out a PC every day, and in between, I also was trying to make content. This is a lot of work. You see, if you do not make content, or you do not, do reselling, you might not know what I'm talking about. But believe me, if you are a reseller, not just the YouTube reseller, somebody that comes only to talk about reselling, if you pretty much, serve customers, you have items being sold every day, and you have to, pack these items, ship them out. If you sell light items, I don't know, I never entirely sold light items before, but if you pack items where some of the pieces are like, 10 kilograms, 8 kilograms, when you finish packing the whole box, sometimes 2 pieces have to be in a box. It becomes pretty much very heavy, and you need to lift this thing, take them to the car, the post office, you need to bring them out, you need to, take them to the counter. You see, it becomes a lot of work, and that alone is already physically very challenging. But then, if you also make content on the side, Man, that's a lot of mental work there, because a long time ago, I used to think that it's so easy to just make content, bring out your camera, it doesn't matter, just, press record and begin to talk. But the more you do it, you begin to understand that, look, it's a lot of work that goes into it. Talking in a way that will make sense to people requires a lot of mental gymnastics, except you're just going to come here and yap about anything. Then I don't know, I still think it takes a lot of effort. But if you want to compass some major information to people, talk about what sold, talk about the items that are selling, the problems you are having, talk about the challenges you are having doing eBay, the fact that customers return some items, and make it an interesting talk or an interesting video, guys, it takes effort. And in between, you still have to clean the warehouse. You have to make sure that things are, off the ground. They are not things that are posing some dangers. And when you receive, packaging materials, you also have to lift them up. Some are heavy. The bubble wraps are not so heavy. But when you receive cartons, like myself, sometimes I receive, like 50, 60 pieces of cartons. I need to physically carry them up, drop them somewhere. Of course, this wasn't an issue many years ago, but this is what it is. Life, sometimes when you grow older, you tend to want also kind of slow down in terms of how much you can take in a particular time. And basically for me, not that I'm totally weak right now, but I feel a major difference in the fact that, 5, 6, 7 years ago, man, I could lift a truck, but right now I do a few stuff. I kind of feel, the effect on my body, kind of feel a little bit pain. And sometimes I do not even feel pain there and then, but when I get home, I finally get to sleep. Waking up now becomes, very, very difficult. This is expected. It's part of the things that you have to do. But then when you start to feel this way, the best thing you can do is to take a rest, which is exactly what I am going to be doing. But I have decided that, look, in this time, my shop is still going to be opened, for transactions. Some time ago when I did take a holiday, I actually closed my shop. And for some funny reason, I'm not saying this is not confirmed, I feel like the fact that my shop was switched off, all the traffic, all the momentum I had built pretty much went away, and it took quite a while for me to be able to get that momentum back. And it was just a total mess when I came back. It was a long period of no sales, like up to 2 weeks, and they to be doing a lot of things, delisting and relisting, making sure titles are optimized. At the end of the day, I want to blame this thing that happened on the fact that my shop was totally switched off, which is, if you go to the holiday mode, you have the option to actually leave your shop, leave people to be able to buy stuff up to 15 days. And I just made it such that no one was able to buy stuff. But this time around, I'm going to be experimenting with what it looks like, leaving your shop for people to be able to order things. Of course, I understand that people do not actually read whatever banner eBay places on your shop to say that, look, this seller is on holiday and the delivery of your item might take a little bit longer. People don't read that, because the last time I had a holiday, even though this banner was clearly placed there, people still sent me messages. I was not expected to reply these messages, but this time around, I want to experiment with leaving my shop for people to be able to go ahead and buy things, and hope that they are going to be aware of the fact that this seller is on holiday and the delivery of the item is not going to be anytime soon. And definitely, there are people that are going to be buying stuff and they're going to be disappointed. They want to cancel. I'll be able to process those transactions. Yes, I want to leave the shop open. I do not want anything to kind of, hinder the traffic I have right now. In the last 2 weeks, I would honestly say that eBay has been very, very fair to me, has been fair to my shop. Of course, it takes two to tango. It takes me to also bring, good items to the website, items that people need, items that are in good working conditions, good prices. And if I bring these items to the platform, eBay is also saying that, don't worry, we're going to do our part to ensure that these items are shown to people over the world. And this is how it has been. So it's kind of a mutual relationship. I'm doing my part to ensure that the platform is fed with what it needs, and eBay is doing its part to ensure that the seller, constantly has motivation, to sell on the platform. But I'm just a human being. I'm not a robot. I'm not an AI. And as a human being, you are definitely going to be tired at some point, and that feeling, whenever it comes, the best thing to do is for you to say, what, even though I'm making a lot of money, doing this, I enjoy these activities, I enjoy making these videos, I enjoy, this adrenaline that comes from you, going out to hunt for items, the item sales. I still want to take a break in this time. the shop is going to be opened. Whoever still finds things interesting and want to buy it, he or she is free to go ahead and order the items, and I'm just going to come around, process the items and send them out for those transactions that were not canceled, because definitely some people are going to buy the item and then realize that the item is not going to be delivered until, say, 3 weeks later, and they're going to go ahead and just cancel the purchase. I'm also, open for that. So there's every reason for me to take this holiday. The last, kind of accident I had, which I also made a video of, I fell from my roller and kind of sprained my hand. Even though the hand already feels very good, but I mean, I've been using this hand all the while. I never took a break after this little fall. If you have to pack heavy stuff, you leave the box, you're putting the computers in the box and you are taping the box, there's just no way. These fingers, I really never thought that they were so important in packaging materials. I always thought this was the hand that was the active hand, So when I had a pain on this hand, I started realizing that, look, every little bone, every little finger on this hand, this left hand, even though it's not the hand that is the active hand, it's kind of the supporting hand, they are very important. If I want to grab this tape like this, you see that I'm going to pull on this tape, but this hand needs to be very strong enough to be able to, hold this tape and then pull it like that. All right. So even though I do not have major pain on this hand right now, but whenever I, flex it to a certain angle, I kind of still feel, some pain. And the reason is not far-fetched. I never really allowed this hand to heal properly ever since the little, accident I had. I have been using this hand, and all these things put together, pretty much made the body say, you know what, I think I want to rest. And this is exactly how it is going to be. If you are also feeling this way, something I want to advise you, the business is not going anywhere. You see, you are able to do your business if you are strong. There is a phase for everything. I'm not talking about you if you are in the phase of still trying to build something. If you are still in the phase of trying to make sure your business gets off the ground, so you are trying to build the structures that you need, definitely you knock yourself out, because this is the only thing that this phase requires. It requires you to work and work and work, pretty much just keep working until things can begin to take off. You begin to see some results, and then you begin to build some systems and processes in place. And this is the problem I have with this messaging that's out there right now. If you go onto YouTube, people want to tell you, you can just go ahead and build a business. You don't have to do anything. We've pretty much made everything on autopilot for you. You create this AI agent, and the AI agent takes over, and everything just keep working. You only have to come here and do 2 hours a day, and then you're already free to go and start drinking coconut water. All that stuff, guys, doesn't work like that. And this sometimes drives me to the wall each time I hear this kind of messaging. There is a stage of your business where you have to pretty much put your face to the grinding stone and really work it out. There's just no way you can circumvent this. Of course, if you technically look at it, you could circumvent this if you have money up front to spend. If you are saying to yourself, I don't want to do any of the heavy lifting, I just want to pay somebody to take over and do the heavy lifting for me. And when things are already, set up, then I can take control of the business. If this is the route you want to take, I didn't take that route. And the only route I know that seems to be working, or that seemed to have worked, was, the route of me putting in a lot, like an untold amount of work, grinding it out, testing a lot of stuff, making a lot of mistakes, pretty much a lot of mistakes, and then finally being able to build a system where, I go get inventories, I list them on eBay, develop systems that really made these listings very, very, fast and clean, developed like a photo album, given that I sell pretty much the same items over and over and again, list the items get sold, I come in, pack the items up neatly, and the items go to the post office. And then I just rinse and repeat the process again. And while doing that, I am making this kind of content in between. Of course, not only this kind of content of me just giving you some kind of updates, also content, highly educative content that will give you a lot of insight. If you decide to flip PCs for profit, or whatever you decide to flip on eBay or any other platform of your choice. So guys, this is the update, and I feel like I'll be going on holiday, and in between, whenever I have the time, I'll be able to take up my camera, just this kind of videos, talk to you guys. If I see anything going on like I need to respond to, definitely I'm going to be responding to it. And if I have anything to share with you guys, because quite lately I am having a lot of plans, to build something that will be of value to the reselling community, to those that actually sell electronics, computers in specific. I'm thinking of building something, and it's still just an idea that I have in my head. Never really had time, to sit down, really see how it's going to look, how I'm going to be able to coordinate these resellers around the categories which I sell in, so that we all can be part of this thing I'm trying to build. I have not been able to do that, but if I come back from my holiday, definitely I'll be in a better position, physically, mentally, to be able to put all these thoughts on black and white, possibly make a video about it, and we will be able, to start something. Guys, this is what it takes, and this is the reason why sometimes I get so tired lately. But of course, I'm so thankful, because one of the biggest assets you can have is, to be healthy, to be able to, pull off these things. If one is sick, of course, there's still a way you can do this, but it will just be a kind of drag. But thankfully, this is not the case. But then when my body is giving me some signs that, look, take a break, I should be cool enough to actually listen to that and do exactly what I have to do. I hope this video finds you well. If it did, please go ahead and click on the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Until I see you again later today, peace.